Emotions are facts. Hi, I'm Dr. Jim Porter, and I'm going to tell you exactly what I mean about that. Emotions are facts. In their raw, naked form, they are they are feelings. So in the fact that you can sense them and feel them, and they affect you, and they show up, and they course through you, and they do all kinds of things like there's crying going on and shaking and shivering and your body getting hot and all that. Emotions are facts. We should not ignore emotions. Emotions are important. Emotions do matter. Emotion is, of course, the feeling of being alive. Good, bad, or somewhere in the middle. Emotions are part of what we are. Now, some people say emotions aren't facts. And at some point, I'll tell you why I think that is also true. But first, I want to talk about why I want to emphasize that emotions are real. They're really there. If you're afraid, you're afraid. If you're in terror, you're in terror. And raw, naked terror doesn't have if it's raw and it's its own thing, pure terror, it doesn't necessarily have a cause or a target or some course of action that you need to take because of the terror. So that is a very important distinction. Emotions are not commands. They're not suggestions. They're not depictions of any reality except for that they exist. They're not. They're not able to tell you exactly what happened or exactly what to do. For example, of course you can feel in sheer terror or just a lot of anxiety and fear, and there's nothing dangerous around. Nothing. You're in absolutely no danger. The problem with emotions comes when we're not paying attention to them. Because when you pay attention to them, you know they're there. After a while, you get pretty good at that, and you can just monitor the emotions, feel them, experience them, and be alive. Mourn someone's death. Be happy that someone asked you out on a date. Enjoy your jog. Those kinds of things. Or feel righteous indignation when you see an injustice being perpetrated in your society. These are emotions that you experience that create what it is to be real. But just because I associated those emotions in response to something that you've experienced doesn't mean that the emotions can accurately tell you what course of action you need to take or what's actually going on in the environment. I say that they are the accompaniment, the music accompaniment in a movie. But I also say this, they're physical, they're powerful. They can create motivation and lack of motivation. They can create anxious moving around, or they can create anxious paralyzation. They can create a depressed, numb feeling. They can create a depression in which you cannot lift your arm while you're laying on your bed. They are physical realities. There isn't any getting around that. However, when you pay attention to them, one power you start to get is that they can't be secretly controlling you. That means even though I said, for example, that you might not be able to lift your arm if you're lying down in a deep depressed state in bed, starting to pay attention to your body feelings and sensation, you start to have more ability to control your behavior and more ability to do something about all that rotten thinking that you hate and all those crazy expectations and all that, oh no, he's going to do this or she's going to do that. So you want to have a direct relationship with your emotions to get rid of your emotional problems, because your emotions are not problems unless they start to too much affect your behavior and your thoughts. And when they get to a severe and chronic point, they're also a problem. But part of the solution to make them no longer severe and no longer chronic is to build a conscious relationship with them. What that means, depending on what level you're at, is when you're feeling sad, you start sobbing, even though you really probably wouldn't have wanted to when you were in a denial phase of your life. When someone dies, you might want to just go back to work and forget about it and be jocular about it and have a few drinks about it with the friends, instead of going through all the agony of grief. But going through agony is the conscious way of dealing with grief. And it's the healthy way of dealing with grief. Eventually, tears come out, and tears release you from the agony of the present and the reality of the past into the reality of the future. Now, I think I've said my piece about the difference between behaviors, cognitions, thoughts, and the information that your emotions can give you. And the information they can give you is merely what they are. They can alert you to pay attention to your surroundings to see if something's going on, but they don't decide, and you don't follow their orders. There is one time when you will follow your emotions' orders and that it's appropriate. And that is when there is an actual physical threat to you or someone else, and your emotion system actually takes over your behavior, and you go do something like run at a burning car to rescue somebody, or run away from a burning car because it's exploding, or freeze because there's a leopard looking at you while you're camping. And that kind of thing is what that system is also designed to do. So it's designed to interfere when you are in actual physical danger, but it is not designed, it's not supposed to interfere during normal life stuff. The reason it does interfere is because of all the training you received in childhood from your environment, your parents, and the way a child learns. A lot of emotional habits that work in childhood but stop working very soon into late childhood and adulthood. Build a direct relationship and experience your emotions no matter how rotten they seem. Emotions are also not facts, and it's partly because of what I just said. Emotions can't tell you if you should ask someone out on a date or not ask someone out on a date, but they will try to tell you what to think because of these false connections we've made between emotions and thought and emotions and behavior. And they will make you shake, and they will make your jaw clench, and they will make your throat dry up, and they will make your mind forget what you wanted to say when you do go and ask someone to go out on a date, if you have that kind of relationship with your emotions. Everybody has their emotions disrupt them. But one of the core facts, or one of the core beliefs that enables emotions to disrupt us, is that they are facts in terms of they can tell me what's going on in my environment, specifically and realistically. And again, that's a false belief. And that they can tell me what to do under normal situations. No, they can't. They cannot. But they're very important, because if you ignore them, they will also rebel, and they will think you're crazy, and they will try to push you harder, and that creates more agony. And you can understand why you or someone you love may have developed something we can call in the big purple book, this supposed Bible of therapy, psychology, and psychiatry, is not an actual Bible. It's just a name we give to things when they've gotten severe enough that it's disrupting somebody's life. And we have to be creative in how we find these names. And we have to be, as accurate as we can possibly be. But when it gets to the point where life is too disruptive or too agonizing, that's another way, by the way, that emotions can be a problem, is when you're not paying attention to them and they start to color your world too much. Then it can just take the joy out of life, or it can separate you from your connection with life. but they are not facts in that they can't tell you what to do or where to go. When you're afraid, it doesn't mean there's danger. When you're happy, it doesn't mean that something good happened. It doesn't necessarily mean that something good happened. So I think I've made the distinction pretty clear. Emotions are not a guide. Emotions are not a recommendation. Emotions are not an information in most ways. Now, you may say, well, there's intuition, isn't there, Jim? Yes, but that depends on what you call intuition. For example, you could have a hunch that is really no more than an emotion. And a fear emotion will give you a hunch that something bad's about to happen, or that you need to protect yourself against something, or you need to stop in place and not do anything. But if it's sourced from fear, you can't be sure that those instincts to do those actions are correct. You have to actually bring your conscious self back online and look at your environment and decide whether you actually rationally think. You don't turn off the emotion when you turn on your conscious brain. Your conscious brain doesn't work as well without emotions involved. Emotions are actually there in the reasoning process. Just like I said, they can alert you to pay attention, but then you have to actually pay attention. You have to take some breaths to let the emotion system to know that you're listening and that you're looking and that you're learning and that you, not they, are going to decide. You are going to decide. And when the decision's made, they've done their job and they will linger. But that does not tell you how you're doing on your job. Your emotions can't tell you how you're doing on your job. Again, you have to decide consciously how you're doing on a job. Emotions can color your view of things, but they're more likely to color your view when you're not aware they are coloring your view. They can color your thoughts, but those thoughts are likely to have more impact on you when you know that those thoughts are impacting you and that they are sourced and supported by the emotions going on inside you. So again, emotions are real facts. They are important. You've got to feel them. If you want to feel the good ones, the best ones, you got to be willing to feel the worst ones. You don't want to conjure them up or make them happen, but you have to be willing to tolerate the whole spectrum of emotions in order to get the ones you want. But you also have to know they're there, know they're not facts, but know they're not informative facts, but they are facts unto themselves if you want to get to that place of functioning in life that you are striving for. So I like this one. I'm going to go ahead and put this one on YouTube. Thank you very much. I have been Jim Porter. I'm looking for the stop button.